Welcome back to Franchise Hockey Manager 11 with the Philadelphia Flyers. As we begin the 2026-2027 season, we first have to take a look at how well we did last season. And if you were last with us, you would have seen that we managed to win the whole thing. I know the last episode was very long, but we managed to win the whole thing despite not having all our players healthy. 48 wins, 30 losses, and 4 overtime losses to secure the season for us. I will say the sleeping player that we ended up having was Owen Tippett. He was insane. He ended up doing 84 points in 80 games, but that pales in comparison to how well he did in the postseason. 42 points in 26 games. Managed to do it for us. Michkov did well as well. We'll take a look at how well he's progressing for us. And he's doing pretty good. Last season, he only ended up playing 57 games, but managed to get 53 points, and his postseason was pretty good as well. He managed to get 33 points in 26 games. I mean, it's not Owen Tippett level, but it's still pretty good. But we're going to take a look at the acquisitions that we're trying to do. We're trying to extend Michkov for 3 years for $4 million, and then Drysdale as well. We're trying to sign Andrew Oki, who's only a 1-star but a 4.5-star potential goaltender. He does look decent. It's worth the shot of paying next to nothing for it. It's not going to cost us that much. Luke Misa is also available. His physical attributes are just jumping off the page right there. Mental is pretty good as well. Not to mention his offensive rating, and even if you look closely, some of his defensive rating is pretty good. Obviously not shot blocking or defensive read at the moment, but his face-offs, his positioning is pretty good. Stick checking is also good as well. He's probably going to be a decent setup man for us as well, and he can at least play center, so we do need a second and third line center for sure. McLeod, we're trying to extend as well. His face-offs are 18. Pretty good. He did a 64 grade for us last season, and I think we can extend him for roughly around how much we're paying him this season. So no harm, no foul. But we did end up extending Scott Lawton for 2 seasons for $5.3 million. Worst comes to worst, we just end up parting ways with him. He is maintaining a 64 grade overall with around 13 minutes of ice time and 31 points. So good for a fourth liner. I will pay decent money for him. Just end up staying on the fourth line. But taking a look at the draft picks that we ended up having, we have a couple fourth rounders there and a couple fifths. But mainly our first rounders can be pretty terrible. But let's jump to see who ends up doing well in terms of the draft lottery there, and then in terms of the draft afterwards. So we're just going to do show all. We're not even going to attempt at it. And St. Louis ends up losing their number 1 spot. Anaheim gets the top spot. And even Utah is still there as well. Buffalo Sabres still hasn't done nearly as well. And I don't know if Crosby or anything like that's retired, but I did see Ovechkin recently retired as well. So I know probably in the next couple seasons, Washington's going to be a desperate need of some help there. So yeah, we 32 and then 64. So it's not going to be necessarily the greatest, but we're going to have to make do with what we have here. But Rubric looks good. McKenna looks good. All of them outside of what we can possibly get. We do need centers. I will draft a defender as well. Joe Aginla. Any relation? Jerome Aginla. So Joe Aginla will probably be the guy that we're going to try and get if we can manage to get him. Gavin McKenna goes first overall. Rubric's probably going to go next. Rubric is next. Goes to St. Louis, which I think even in the other games he always goes there too. Mathis Preston. That guy did not really notice him, but he was projected to go third overall. There's still a decent amount of players. We're going to take a look at what we end up missing here. And then it goes to Belchetz, Kosick, and Liske. See if Aginla's available. There's also a 2.5 star. Or 1.5 star, but 4. We could get the 8th overall. And Iginla's projected to be 44th. Oh my god. I think we trade for Iginla. Tomic I've seen as well. 31. I think, even though we don't need right wingers, can he play left wing? He shoots left as well, so he can probably play left wing. He's 18. WHL versus, you know what? We're going to pick the 8th overall. I kind of have to. Wherever Iginla goes, we're gonna try and trade for him though. Maybe put it in a pack or something. Let's see. He ends up going the second round, 34, so pretty much a first one to Utah. I'm sure we can come together and find something for him. Center ends up popping up there. Passing's pretty good. Shooting accuracy is very good. Face-offs are also pretty decent. He was projected to be 22nd. Jeez, we're managing to find all these players at a premium here. Defender, we do also need as well. Yerix isn't projected to go for a little while. It's not that I end up going based on these, but it is a nice reference point. But obviously, if this guy's projected to be a first round pick, we have to kind of take notice to that. Unless the thing's broken, and then we're really screwed. But I feel as though it's a decent reference point when you're between 2 or 3 players to kind of look at that. 3.5 potential. This is the guy that we were looking at before. Center and a right wing. Acceleration's good. Speed's pretty good. Professionalism is pretty good. He looks more like a center than he does a right winger. So can never have too many centers. I do say that. Goalie we don't really need, especially if we can grab one of the players that we want. Tarenko. Does look like we got the next pick here. I know we don't need any more Swedish players. 69. Yeah, I don't think we really need him. The Russian. Pretty much a first round pick. He is 18, 5'11". We got to go defenders after this, though. Let's see. Who's available now? Right D, Pilaperinen. Yeah, he does look like he could be good. Shooting range. I mean, he can play a little bit of everything. It's going to take him a little while to develop, though. But he is 17. So why not take the chance on him? Still kind of upset that we didn't get a Ginla, though. But we'll see if we can get, like I said, send a package to him. Let's go for maybe the German. We'll go Krekstan. And then, yeah, we definitely need to focus on defenders next. Dravecki looks promising. More of an attacking one. Shooting range and puck handling. I mean, his defensive is definitely going to have to get better. Vladimir Dravecki. Take a chance on you. Still decent overalls, though. So a lot of these players could develop into superstars. We're going to go based on what the current rating is, though. Valentini. I mean, looks like he could be a sleeper for sure. He is a puck handler. He has decent balance and stamina. And he's a team player. Valentini, we're going to take a chance on you. Again, we don't need any more forwards, but he is the best available player. Go based on ability now. And right D, Pickford here. Pickford looks pretty good. He's 20, though. I'm not going to take any 20-year-olds in the draft. That has never been my my MO. Only 2-star potential. We'll take a look at the potentials and maybe only go the 1 stars. They're all half a stars. Cunningham will go based on height, I guess. Drudry. There's no defenders. Ciernik and Plemidon. Plemidon looks okay, but 157. Dermot Johnson looks okay, 0.5 though. Thompson. 214. He is 18. Let's try that. Barrett Thompson. We'll pick him. We do need defenders. Well, then we'll just end up picking kind of flyers after this. It is now in the 6th round. And I mean, I don't think it really matters who we end up getting. 180. Shylov. 108. Alright, we'll grab him. And then now it's in the 7th round. Picar's still there. Lemandin's still there. You know what? Might as well just take a flyer on this guy. 157. He does play for the JHL. It's probably his last season though. Yeah, I should have probably got Flugen. But who cares? One 20-year-old's not the worst, but that was the last pick of the draft. And there's no one good enough, I would say, to sign right away. Picar just looks average. 180. Maybe I just leave him for next year. But that concludes the draft. We'll take a look at, see if we can click a couple more and see if we can manage to get some of these players and see what the team kind of looks like entering the season. Oh yeah, we did get rid of Kaneki. Did forget to mention that. But we'll go into transactions as well and kind of get a better glimpse at that. I'm sure we killed the draft. I'm sure they're going to say we did the best. Yeah, we did the best. Obviously getting the 8th overall, 30th is... Oh yeah, they want us to grab a local player, but that did not happen. Dupont looks like he's the player of the year this year for the draft. And I mean, it still looks pretty good. So we'll take a chance on that. But we'll look at our transactions. I did kind of miss out on showing that. Oh, it does show that we signed Misa. Okay, so we signed Misa and we signed Oki. Okay, so they're both with us. That's good. And then take a quick look at what we did last season towards the end of it. Go with trades. Cole Lynn, we ended up getting for Henneberry, and we got rid of Couturier, but that's not even the one that I'm looking at. It doesn't show it, but we did, who did we trade to then? We ended up getting rid of one of our players. Oh no, we're trying to get rid of him. Never mind, we couldn't quite get rid of him because Detroit decided to back out last minute. Yeah, we're trying to get rid of Farabee. They offered a decent amount, but also, I mean, we did win without him, but feels like we're probably a better team with them. But let's jump to the start of the season and see what this team ends up looking like to start things off for the season. So it's the beginning of the 2026-2027 season, and Tampa Bay are once again the Cup favorites. We're not even really considered despite winning last year, but does look like it's going to be between Tampa, Edmonton, and New Jersey. Colorado's a dark horse, and same as always for the scoring race, nothing really changes to that, and the top defensemen are pretty much the same as well. Goalies are going to be Jake Ottinger and Saros and Vasilevsky, but I think that was the same as last year. Now I did see some interesting things in the waivers, so trying to facilitate a trade right now. I could have easily just picked up Zach Benson, who was on the waivers, but I didn't feel as though that was right, so I didn't do it, and I just offered them a trade instead, so we'll see if they end up accepting it. It's hit or miss whether or not they do, but well, I guess we'll have to see. But I did film the last video before I ended up filming this one, so or the first part of this video, so just the draft, and then I ended up posting the video, then I saw all the comments, and it's completely my mistake. I did not even know that Michael McLeod ended up having all those allegations and stuff like that, but I thank you guys, everyone in the comment section, for mentioning it, so I ended up making it right. After I ended up signing him to a contract, I then put him on waivers immediately after, so we're paying him for the next 2 seasons, but yeah, definitely an oversight of mine. I definitely did not even know who the guy was. So my apologies to everyone, and thank you for bringing that to light. So now we can kind of move on from that. Trades that we end up doing after the draft, we end up going for a Ginla here. We gave up Verreau and the rights for Bump and McPherson and 3rd round pick. Not that bad for a 2nd pick. So we didn't really fleece them in any way. Verreau could still be decent. I mean, he's going to start off, I think, in the AHL and stuff like that. But already current ability, I mean, he could be just as good. But we then, after the release, we then ended up getting a William Karlsson for Moline and a 5th round. He was on the trade block, and I've always been a fan of Karlsson, so I will take his discounted 2.8 as opposed to a $5 million contract. So we'll take that for the season. So not that we really need the cap comfortability, but it's still definitely a good decision to do. We signed, like I said before, Misa, and then we ended up getting Andrew Oki, who's going to start this season, maybe even in the ECHL, because he's only a 1-star. So we'll start him off there. He ends up starting the season there, and we'll take a look at, we'll do AI setup organization once more. This is what it looks like for the start of the season. Everyone looks healthy. Bobby Brink at 87, but it doesn't look like that's going to matter anyways. He's going to slot in as our 3rd line. Kate's currently as the top one, but I think Luchenko is more destined for that. So I think once we get closer to the start of the season is when it's going to finally take into effect. But it shouldn't matter. I'm just waiting to see if Buffalo actually does accept it. If it wasn't smoke and mirrors for it, I really hope that they do look at the trade and it doesn't just get forgotten about. Which, to me, it kind of looks like it's going to get forgotten about. So we're going to go back in there. We're going to offer them the same trade that we gave them before. Yeah, Zach Benson. I don't know why they would put him on waivers anyways, because I think he's starting off in the AHL. Super weird to me, but I'll take advantage of that as much as possible without really fleecing them. So I did look at, I think Bobby Brink was the guy that I was willing to offer them. Hardly likely to accept. And then I did give up a San Jose's 3rd rounder, and they said I think this is a balanced offer, and then I'll throw them in one of our decent prospects, not the best and not the worst, so maybe not a Russian. Banak, I think we got him early, so we'll give up Yordorov. Yeah, we'll do that. The one that we got in the center, the trade earlier, they think it's a well-balanced offer. We'll see if they end up accepting it. Wouldn't be bad to start off the season that way. I know Bobby Brink is pretty good, but I've always been a fan of Zach Benson. If he's on the outs of their team, why not make a trade? And it still doesn't seem as though they're getting back to us. They left us on red. And the season has already started, so really hope we can get this deal done before we play our first game. Just because I don't really want to look at trades after that. So looks like they ended up going for the 2nd and 3rd round. I will take that. I will take that every single day of the week. So now we welcome Zach Benson to our team. And let's see where the AI ends up putting him. And I don't see him. If they end up putting him in the AHL, I swear. Okay, so Where'd he go? Okay, left wing. Fourth line left wing. That seems odd. And now we hit the salary floor again. Could loan Ryabkin out again. Yeah, we're going to loan him out. And then I guess we're going to have to sign a $3 million player. Which I did see Seth Jones. I'm good for a 1 year. I guess if we didn't retain, give him 1 year what he wants. No. Is he going up in price? He won't take 7 million. Okay. Well, Seth Jones isn't going to be on our team, that's for sure. He's 32 too. You'd think that he would actually take that deal. Truba. Or a bit rich for me. He is 32 as well. Don't really want to sign too many older players, or really any for that matter. Oh yeah, I know. Now I know why. Okay, I'll show you guys after in a second of what ended up happening. I was trying to figure out why we had that. 3 years? No, there's no way I'm gonna do that. Give you 6 million for 1 year. No, what the? I don't know why they won't budge considering they're free agents and no one ends up actually wanting to sign them. We start getting into the part where no one's going to end up playing for our team. Campus Lindholm. No. He's going to want 3 years as well. The only reason why we have to do this is because we end up having an injury. So 4.87. Give him 7 million for 1 year. He doesn't want to do that. I don't really care about Lampus Lindholm. We'll go back. I guess we might buckle down and get yeah. I guess we'll sign Seth Jones, but we'll probably end up getting rid of him next season, or put him on waivers as well. But unfortunately, yeah, we did suffer an injury, which is why we had to do this in the first place. Torn UCL for Scott Lund, so he's going to be out for a little while, and that ended up happening just at the end. Figures sign him to an extension, and then that ends up happening. So that 5 million ends up hurting us just a little bit. So I think, yeah, we swapped the 1 for 1, but I think once we get the first AI swap, it'll probably bring in a forward instead of a defender. So I think one of our defenders is definitely bound to go down at the AHL. But yeah, it didn't seem like the Russian was going to be able to get a good start this season. Anyways, he did report to camp out of shape, so sending him on loan is probably the best bet. 2.5 star rating. I usually like to start those players, especially if they're young. But I figure why not give him the opportunity to hopefully improve his stats and play 1 more year back home. Byfield now hurt. Fox sidelined. Seems to be a decent amount of injuries to start this season off. Do they even play him? So Seth Jones does slot in the second line. So I do like that. It doesn't really take anything away from the players that we end up starting. So it's probably going to booster this offense and defense as well. Owen Tippett, Luchenko, and Michkov starting off as the first line. Farabee, Frost, and Demidov. Not too bad. I like that 1-2 punch there. Barkley, Cates, Rizzo, and then Carlson, Benson and Misa are going to be our bottom line. I actually really like that bottom line. And then Sandheim and Drysdale, York, Jones, Andry, and Gill, and then Spencer Knight and Kolosov, like they did last year, are going to start for us in net. First game of the season. Let's see if we can beat Utah. Wonder what their team name ends up changing to, because I don't really like Utah Hockey Club. First game, Luchenko and Barkey end up getting points, but ultimately we end up losing opening night. Away from home though, so we haven't quite done our season opener yet. So hopefully this team can do as well as they did last season. I mean, I'm not expecting it, but it's kind of difficult to start it off with 2 cup wins in a row, especially since we weren't even anticipated to get a cup run last season. That kind of came as a surprise to me as well. But hopefully we can have just as good of a season, but not really worry about any of this stuff. Givani Smith. I haven't even heard of that guy either. Already suffering our first injury/suspension. Fantastic. Tippett is now out for 3 games. How does it affect the lineup? Doesn't really, I guess. Okay, so we should be good. Nashville, we end up winning 5-4 in overtime. Andre, Michkov, Drysdale, and Michkov again before ultimately winning by shootout, Michkov being the only one that scores. Now Demidov is getting the injury bug as well. If it's a torn ACL or UCL, I'm going to be pissed. 2 to 3 weeks from whiplash. Not ideal to start the season off, but hopefully that doesn't hinder his development as much. I still want him to play on left wing as well. I want him to be able to play that at least on the power play, maybe even first power play unit. With Michkov at some point. I think they'll probably do pretty well together. Out 3 weeks. How well is he doing developing left wing? So he can probably play left wing more likely than center, so eventually that should be a good spot for him as well. He does shoot left as well, so I'm surprised that he doesn't want to play left wing to start it off. But when he comes back from injury, we're going to kind of force him onto that left wing and get him to develop into the top line as well. 3-1 win against the Leafs. Gendron and Carlson get goals, and then Cates gets the extra one at the end. Not an empty netter, but why would we criticize Luchenko? He's still very young. It'd be very weird to definitely take it out on him, but we managed to win that anyway. So 2 wins, 1 loss, 3 games in. Washington doing terrible, 2-4 in 6 games. They played one of the most games out of anyone, and not doing the greatest, that's for sure. I know a lot of the trades that ended up happening are kind of wild. Some teams are far more active than others, and Utah seems to be the #1 team that I see that trades, and doesn't really seem like it's helping. Misa with his first goal. Frost ends up scoring before Michkov and Rizzo, and then Gendron and Farabee each get goals there as well. Glad to see so many different goal scorers to start off the season. It's easy to get the first one out of the way. I feel as though a lot of them flow afterwards. But with that 3rd win, it does put us top of the division once again, just above Rangers. I really hope Rangers start to slow down a little bit, because I know that our owner is going to request that we finish ahead of them every single season, probably, and that's probably the only thing that he really cares about. So hopefully we can manage to do that, but I know the more that they start pushing on us, the harder it's going to be for us. And Tippett's now back from suspension. I don't even know what he did. I don't care, so John Tavares, there's no way that I would ever want John Tavares. Contract, I mean, 5.28 is not that bad, but he wouldn't even come to us, so I don't even know why they're entertaining this. You look at the teams that he would request, and we're not one of them. So even if we were shopping for him, he wouldn't budge. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with either. 8-3 loss to Utah. Not very good. Cam York, Farabee end up getting on the score sheet there before Misa ends up getting the third one, but they scored 8 against us, so we're going to have to shore up something defensively if we're going to want to make good of the season. Kolosov doing pretty decent in net, though. I think he came in probably once it was already out of hand and probably only had 1 goal against him, I guess. But we'll give him the shot the next game as well. But it does say that Demidov is skating as well, so hopefully he can be back pretty soon. Maybe put Farabee on the second line there, the right side. So 8-2 win. Tippett, Benson getting his first. Still surprised that they were willing to get rid of him for practically nothing. He did get a 55 grade last season from them but they only put him in. How do you put your best prospect only 8 minutes on average in 58 games? That is crazy. We're going to kind of force him to go on the line above. I think we're going to keep pushing him up. It does look like his face-off should be good. So I want him to play more center than I do want him to play on the wing. His passing is pretty good as well. He's going to be probably a decent defensive player, so I think we're going to put it all in for that. Gill and then Jones getting points as well, and then Tippett with the extra one at the end. I think once Demidov comes in, we're gonna do a little bit of rotation with some of the players. Put him more in the center, and then Demidov on the left wing. But eventually he'll be the top spot. But I do see Zach Benson probably starting on the third line more so than the second line. Oh, sorry, the fourth line. So still a lot of trades they're throwing around. Go to lines here. And yeah, Benson, we're going to put him in ahead of Cates. I kind of got to see how Cates is, to be honest. Pretty decent, but not great. He's probably a solid third line after all is said and done. We end up losing 3-2. Frost ends up getting a goal, and so does Farabee. But maybe it's going to be a slow start to start the season off. But I know that the more that we end up pushing Benson into that role, probably the better it is. But I do think he would be good second line, and maybe even first line, depending between him and Luchenko. So the more that we end up casting it that way, probably the better that it is. 8-3 win there, so we do manage to bounce back. Barkey, I keep wanting to say Barkley. Barkey and Gendron before Tippett ends up scoring the first, and then Andre Barkey. So Barkey gets a hat trick. I'm gonna have to look at his stats after. Sandheim and Forster both getting their first goal of the season, but would have never guessed this guy would have done so well. Geez, former third-round pick, but he does look like he's developing into quite the player. Does bump us up to second, just below Hurricanes, and for whatever reason, Rangers just decide to start imploding. Yeah, we'll kind of leave it as is. I don't want to mess with it and have to keep moving it manually. 7-6 win against Carolina. So that's definitely what we want to see. We play one game less than they have, so we do have a chance to bump up ahead of them. Michkov getting his fifth, Sandheim, Luchenko getting goals before Cates, Tippett, and then Misa surprisingly getting his third as well. Kind of want to see how well this guy develops. He is more of a true center though, but I think we can play him on the wing. I think the face-offs are definitely something that I always kind of forget about And then when you end up having a good center that can actually get all the face-offs, it's definitely something that you start to value after a while. More trades. I thought it was Tage Thompson for a second. I was going to be like, that is insane. Wait, what? Mark McLaughlin, a 2-star 27-year-old, for Lekkerimäki, a 22-year-old. That is insane. What are you doing, Vancouver? That is wild. Oh my god. It's probably based on grades. But even then, they were only putting him in 10 minutes of ice time. There's no way that you would do that to one of your prospects. Can we look at... No. Oh, it's doing Lekkerimäki. So let's look at what their lines are like. So he's probably on the fourth line. That seems so odd. Yeah, he should have obviously been slotted right around here, or maybe even the third line, just for his development alone. Game against Dallas, we went 5-4. We're keeping it really close, though. I kind of want to have more of a goal differential margin here, but we're only winning by 1 or 2, and then getting blown out after. So Andrei Gendron getting on the score sheet again. Seth Jones and Luchenko before Tippett scoring the game winner in the third. Luchenko with 5 assists and Drysdale doing pretty well as well. I do like Forster on the right wing. Crazy to think he's 24 at the moment. I think he's slotted in the third line, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even the second. So, without playing any games, we do find ourselves back in top spot. Demidov is a day away, roughly, coming back. Yeah, he's definitely not suitable for center, that's for sure. Well, we'll change up the lines, though. Still put Benson on for Barkey. I don't really want to mess with Barkey because he's been doing pretty good, but 2-0. Zamula and Cates getting the only goals there. Barkey still producing. Kind of a sleeper guy there for sure. Puts us ahead of New Jersey, so widening the gap of the players or of the teams in our division. And New York just absolutely imploding. I've never seen something so bad to start the season off. 8 points does put them as bottom 4, bottom 5 maybe. I was like looking at the development report. Prudhomme starting to look like he's going to be pretty decent in the league. If you didn't see it, we did get him with our second pick. We did kind of reach by around 10 picks, but it's because we're pretty familiar with him, so I don't really mind doing that if I have played with him in a previous season. Victor Eklund, I think one of our first picks there in the second round there. Yeah, mock entry of the 29th, but we got him with the second. So not bad, but he looks like he's starting to produce as well. And it looks like Ryabkin would have been good to start the season off with us, just increasing his overall to a 3-star player. But I think he'll get more of an opportunity in the KHL here. He is still only 19, so not really taking that much of a risk at it. But he should develop. He can play anywhere, but more of a true center. I think with that, it did force us to get the Benson pick, and I think that's going to be even better. Ginla now a 2-star at 18 is pretty good as well. And then Stenberg, improving acceleration. I do like all that kind of stuff. Soto, one of our picks when we first took over, 5th round. So I don't even think he wasn't projected to be drafted, but I mean 2.5 stars still not that bad. Our goalie's starting to improve as well. And then Zada could be playing for us pretty soon. Newbull 22 doesn't look like he's going to really do anything though. Definitely kind of the players that we're probably going to get rid of, maybe even for picks. I don't think we have any picks this season. And I think we only have our first and a second and maybe another team second or a third. So we'll play one more game here, hopefully. If we can beat Seattle, we'll probably end up playing the one game. Then we'll look at the stats to start out the season. Owner confidence is good. And then Demonov might be back. A game at Seattle here, 8-3 to start out the season. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. See if you can win against Seattle here. 4-3 loss in overtime. That's not ideal. Frost, Carlson, and Cates. So we only played the second period of the whole game, and it kind of shows because then we end up losing afterwards. Beniers, Forrester ended up getting a goal for us at least, and then Chitrin. Who would have Chitrin shoot for them in the shootout though? With 7 wins, Knights at least getting recognized there with his 7th, but we're gonna have to rotate a little bit more though, because I do think at least 2 of those losses are on him as well. But we do find ourselves facing off against Vancouver, and Vancouver's top of the league, despite getting rid of Lekermacki to another team that's top of the division as well. And then Colorado's also at the top here. Utah's still at the bottom, so it just shows that the more trades that you end up doing, probably the worse your team's going to end up getting. And it would be really funny if, as I said that, they end up making a trade again. Benson now playing bottom center there. 4-3 win, so we do at least win or leave on a high note. Barkey getting a short-handed to start things off with us, and then Demidov getting his first, and then Luchenko getting his 4th. Our next game is against Edmonton, but we're going to take a look at how well everyone's doing. And Michkov, 14 points, 13 games. Looking pretty solid, all-out offensive player for sure. Farabee with 14, 10 of those being assists, and then Barkey, surprising despite limited amount of ice time. Top 3. That's pretty good. 13 points for him. Drysdale coming in with 12. Cam York with 10. And then Luchenko, despite getting top minutes, not doing as good as what I would expect, but 9 points, still pretty good for a youngster like that. Frost and Tippett doing pretty well with 9 and 8 respectively. We'll take a look at the goalies because this might be more of a telling story here. And Kolosov might need more games. 932 save percentage is pretty good. Only 1 win though. And 889 is not a good start for Spencer Knight, so we might want to invest a little bit more on the development of Kolosov just to kind of ride his hot streak going. So we'll probably end up playing him a little bit more. It's going to be more evenly half and half, probably leading up to the trade deadline, but we'll jump to that and see how well this team is faring for that. But first, we'll take a look at how well we're doing. Currently top 5 team in the NHL, despite playing a little bit less games, but Avalanche look like they're running away with it. Only 2 losses and then 1 OT loss. And Vancouver and Bruins doing pretty good, and Buffalo Sabres do not look like they miss Zach Benson one bit, rounding out the top 4. So let's jump to the trade deadline, see how well this team is faring. Only around 20 games left. We find ourselves currently in first place in our division with 86 points, 40 wins and 17 losses and 6 overtime losses. Looking in terms of how well we are doing in the league, we've now bumped up to top 3. We do have an extra game at hand with the Knights, but we could end up making a push for that. And then Dallas is currently the lone favorite at the top with 91. We have 256 goals for and about 198, with the difference around 58. Not too bad. That's actually pretty good. Our home record is around 23-5-2, and then our away record is something that we need to kind of focus on a little bit more. 17-12-4 is not ideal, but I think a lot of that is coming on the backs of back-to-back games and a slow start for some of our players as well. But definitely not Michkov. who's around a point per game, just a little bit above 66 points in 60 games. Luchenko with 62 in 60. He's definitely developing into a good supporting cast for him, getting all the assists for the goals that Michkov's scoring. Tippett also doing pretty good with point per game, just as well as what he was doing last year. And then Farabee is doing very good with Demidov on the same line, 53 and 45 points respectively. Demidov playing a little bit less because he got hurt, so he is almost around a point per game, so not bad for a second year player. Cam York with around 43 points, and then Denver Barkey, who's actually looking pretty phenomenal. He is graded around 67, and his average ice time is around 13 minutes and 42 points. That is fantastic. I don't think anyone in the league does that at the moment with such little ice time. He's doing very well. We're definitely have to see what he can do once we bump him up. Once we kind of figure out the Demidov and even the Zach Benson, who is a recent acquisition with 27 points in 61 games. He's kind of teetering between the bottom two, and then we do put him on the top two at whenever it needs to happen. So I'm trying to put him as much between third and second as we can, but sometimes he drops down to fourth line, and only sometimes he's gone up to the top slot. But if you guys didn't see earlier, or if you skipped ahead, the trade that we ended up doing, we ended up giving up Bobby Brink, who's a right winger, so it does kind of make sense that we don't necessarily need him as much. But I mean, Bobby Brink is doing amazing for Buffalo Sabres as well, so does look like a pretty fair trade. 25-year-old player. I do like Bobby Brink, but we do have a decent amount of players that can play right wing, so he just has to be that casualty, unfortunately. He did get to around 51 points for us last season as well. His grade was a little bit higher, but he's getting more ice time with them as well. And don't get me wrong, I do think Bobby Brink is a fantastic player, but the focus of the save isn't for him, it's for Michkov. And I do think Zach Benson, I think he can produce into a different kind of animal there on at least a second line center, maybe even a top line center. Luchenko is probably going to be the lone center there, but it's nice to have a nice 1-2 punch. Looking at some of the transactions that we end up doing, we ended up extending Benson as well, and that trade was the lone trade that we did, and earlier we ended up doing Seth Jones, who's doing pretty good. He's doing the same thing that he did last season. Decent second line defenseman, 32 points in 63 games, but I'm more so getting him for his defensive output, but 5.7 or 5.57 is pretty decent. I checked not that long ago of who was on the trade block. I think more have been added on the closer we end up getting to it. Panarin would be a nice acquisition, but obviously we can't do that. He's with the Rangers, and we're not going to do any transactions with the Rangers. And Patrick Kane does look good, but he's kind of old. And we did get rid of Bobby Brink for a reason, so it doesn't really make sense to now sign a right winger at all. So I don't know if we end up doing that many transactions, if any. We do need a left D though. If I can get an upgrade for a left D, Berger is the only one, but he's also not really what we need. I'd rather more of a defenseman as opposed to a offensive defenseman. So Carter Berger would be the best player that we could get for left D, but that's currently NHL ready, but he's not the kind of player that we want at the moment. Franson looks okay, but it's only a 1-star, so he won't really be able to play with us. It's just more so for injury, and hopefully we can find something here. Hansel looks, he's only 1.5. Dietz could be okay. More offensive though, unfortunately. It sucks that a lot of these players, you don't really know who they are. So Keandre Miller, broken kneecap, that would have been a good pickup. He didn't have the kneecap problem. I wonder if I could still get him onto the team. Now we get into the 2-star range. I don't really see anyone jumping out. Who is this? Hansen Kata. Again, more offensive minded. We don't really want that. We want it for the playoffs, so Ryan Johnson, no. And let's take a look at he 1.5 actually. Not terrible, could play, so where does he could be a pick for later. Where does he play? He plays for Winnipeg, so let's see if we can actually manage to get a trade with Winnipeg. I kind of doubt it. But we'll still try it anyways. Trade block should mean that we should be able to get him for a discount. Potential wise, that's us. Let's look at theirs. And I don't know why he's on the trade block, but let's see. What is it going to take? 4 good players. So we're not going to obviously do that. Surin still looks good. We could give up a prospect or someone that's kind of on the, like Lind I could get rid of. I mean, it looks like it could make it work. I don't think Lind plays for us. And then 2 Amala, so 2 prospects. Not terrible, but more AHL than NHL. And then McLaughlin. Do that, we'll add in maybe a pick as well. As you can see, we only have 3 picks. If we could actually get one back, let's trade a 5th, and let's see if we can get even something back for them currently. They don't want that. I don't want a 7th. I'll stick with 6. I might give them something else as well. Give them a rights of a player that we probably don't have use for, but they could. Sarah Gavin. We'll go for an older prospect, 22. Newble, we don't have any use for. I think we're pretty set. He doesn't look too bad, but I don't think he ends up playing for us. So we'll offer, finalize, and we do at least get a player that could be good for us. He still has 3 years left on his contract at a very minimum. So I will take that all day, but we're going to have to make some adjustments. Maybe Zamula is the one that ends up getting sent down. So move him, put him on waivers. And yeah, Frey ends up playing there. Demnov we're going to put back there. And then Benson's going to get the nod over Frost. It's kind of what we've been doing most of the season. And 6-4 start. York, Demidov, Tippett, and Luchenko all getting goals there before Frey. Frey on his debut ends up getting a goal. That is a good sign. I'd rather him more as a defensive, but his positioning is pretty good. That kind of that can make or break it between a good player and a great player. Is just the positioning, just knowing where to be usually can set you apart from most of the other players. Even in any sport, really. If your positioning's there, your athleticism doesn't necessarily have to be as good. If you just know where to be and know where to stand, you can kind of anticipate everything. So that trade ends up going through. I don't really see us needing to get rid of anyone or really wanting anything, but we'll keep taking a look at the trade block to kind of see. Yeah, Panarin and Khan. Khan looks pretty good. Is 1 year left, and he's willing to come here. So maybe we strike another deal with Buffalo. Buffalo's been pretty active with, Boston's been pretty active with Vancouver throughout this whole season. So we'll end up looking at that. We might even give them something that can kind of help them as well. Go with status. I don't know, that's their thing. We'll go with 1 year left because that'll be an easier way to find him. Devin Levi on a 1 year as well. Always like Devin Levi. But it doesn't really make sense to add more. They have a lot of players on 1 year. He was a 3-star. I don't know why I can't find him. McCon, yeah, there we go. So get McCon for 1 year. We don't need them to retain anything either. They obviously want one of our better players, which isn't going to happen. Cates, he's still pretty good, but he can play center, so I do need that. Left winger, yeah, maybe Lanscombe. Hardly likely they'll accept it. Okay, that's fine. Lawton's still injured. Gendron, no. Zamula we could because we just sent him down. Tivy. Alright, it does look like they're at least willing to bite on that. And then maybe we give them Campbell, who doesn't seem like he wants to be part of this team. And they're still not budging. So we won't even go for McCann then. He does look good, but we're not gonna do that. So, but we are gonna give Kolosov there, and it looks like it's all pretty good. They're now starting to realize that we want Benson there, or he's just performing that decent that that's where he's slotting in. But 6-3 win against Calgary. We now hit up 90 points. Barkey, Frost, and Tippett, and then Barkey again. See, Barkey's just doing so good. Gill gets the last goal there as well, the 6th one, but it didn't really matter. We end up winning as soon as we hit 42 wins. I do want to see 50, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. As long as we finish top of the division, I'm happy with that. Couldn't care less about any other production. Development report. Barati is now doing pretty good in the ACAC. I don't even know what league that is. BCL. If you know in the comment section, please mention what league that is. I've never seen ACAC. And then Nicholas Aram Olsen doing pretty good. 1.5 now. And 3.5 potential. Pyatov with 1.5. Very curious to see where our loanee is looking. Zata doing pretty well as well. Drasdale still has room to improve. 24 years old. That's insane. Carlson, his acceleration, and Lawton and Sandheim are looking like they're regressing just a little bit. Next year's cap space we're gonna have to focus on, but currently this season it says 45. I don't know why that's going up so much. That seems very odd. I guess it's more the season progresses, the more that there's available. But 45 million seems kind of ridiculous, especially since there's no way that we would be able to do that. We could definitely look to cheat and put players on long-term IR for half the season, only to come back. I'm not going to name names of what teams do that, but yeah, you never like. I never like teams that kind of manipulate that way. Gendron's still kind of injured, and Misa's doing pretty good, but I do want to see what he can do. I like Forcer as a long-term solution on the 4th line. We'll kind of leave Benson there, but I do still want Demidov to improve on left wing. We do win 5-2 there. They score the 2 early goals. Protesting Crosby. Crosby looks like he's currently... Oh, he did extend for 3 more years after this. He is... Wow, that's insane. I'm surprised that if he would even do that in real life. They do have Jack Quinn still on their team. Cates and Luchenko and Misa end up scoring, so it does look like that change to put Misa on that line did help. Andre and Forcer end up scoring the 2 goals in the 3rd period. Cates is now hurt, so we are slowly starting to regret that torn calf muscle. Rizzo's not good enough, so we're back to trading. Might end up having to pull the trigger and give something decent for McCon. Or McCann. I don't know why I keep saying McCann. So back to the drawing board. Buffalo Sabres. I think we'll give them something decent, actually. 3.5 stars, right? Curious to see how Zetterlund's doing. We'll look at that in a sec. 64. He's doing pretty good this season. He wasn't doing as great last season. Around a 64 grade. Not really the points getter that you would think, but doing pretty good. So let's see. Make this work. They still want 3 top players, which I'm okay with giving rights to players. Maybe a goalie. Give up the 6th pick. We get hardly accepted. Sounds promising though. Zamula I'll give up as well. And Campbell. Rizzo's the backup. And then we'll give up maybe a pick. They're willing to hear it after a 4th. This is only for rental though, so okay, they're willing to accept that. So now Cates ends up going to IR, and McCann's not going to play on the top line, that's for sure. So we're going to have to monitor that. There's no way that we want him on the top line. As being a rental, I don't really see that. No delay. Just rest up. His season's done. Yeah. Like, definitely not. I want him as my 3rd. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't need 2 perimeter shooters on the first line, so that seems kind of wild that it would suggest that. But 66 games in, we're gonna hopefully be able to crush the rest of it, and then see how well we are in the postseason. Looks like Gendron could be back pretty soon. Game against Washington, 6-1, so it furthers our lead there. And end up getting Tippett, Gill, Forster, Benson, and Barkey, and then Luchenko. Barkey, I think, now gets dropped down to the 4th line probably now. That's a little unfortunate. 44 wins. We need 6 more to finish ahead of the 50 mark. I think we can do it. Yeah, I think if we keep the streak going, we should be good. Toronto's currently bottom. I'm curious to see what ended up happening with them, that if they have any injuries or anything. Disruptive hostility. Could be that. It says rebuild this year. I don't think Leafs have ever actually gone through a rebuild. Matthews looks like he's been injured most of the season. But the 6 games that he's played, 8 points. I wonder if it's good enough to bump him out. They might as well had him injured the whole season, because currently in the league, well, we're currently 2nd in the league, but currently in the league, they are towards the bottom, but I do think that with him back, it could cause some problems. Yeah, Barkey now on the 4th line there. 6-0, so doesn't happen this game. Luchenko with his 28th, Rizzo with his 2nd, and then Benson and Barkey score before Michkov and Luchenko score again. We now face off against New York. I can never tell whether it's New York or New York Islanders, so I'm gonna guess it's New York Islanders. Just kind of a thought. Put in Kolosov, the back-to-back. Yeah, it's Rangers, so I'm wrong every time. 5-4 loss. Shouldn't have really happened, but McCann ends up getting a goal. Frost. And then we get a shorthanded, so it looks like power plays probably killed us a little bit. Luchenko getting a power play before losing in the 3rd period. We didn't go to overtime. And we end up losing in the 3rd. Still 5 more wins for that illustrious 50-win season. And then Carolina. Carolina just as bad as New York this season. But for whatever reason, I feel as though we're going to lose this game as well. Seems to always kind of work that way, that you lose to the garbage teams or teams that are underperforming that season, but seem to win against everyone else. So can McCann play both? McCann can play no, only left wing and center. So he doesn't get the opportunity. It does look like Demidov is improving though on the left wing. So reunion on the top line could be possible. Only one more notch there. But I'm surprised that they're still recommending him on the right though. So a 2-1 loss, like I guessed. We lose in regulation as well, so no points there. Carlson, Spencer Gill, and Misa with the only points there. But 2-1 is not terrible. But losing that is pretty devastating. We face off against Kings. I hope this losing streak doesn't continue for the rest of the season, but it does look like our chance at winning the President's Trophy is slipping through our fingers. But it does look like Dallas is kind of going on the same kind of skid as well. But Vegas looking like they're pulling steam ahead. 100 points now with them, but 2 extra games. Face off against LA. I think I'm going to give Kolosov the nod there. Benson's going to get the nod, and again, we're going to swap this up. I think for the playoffs, I won't really adjust any of that, but at least for the regular season, I want that. So 6-1 win there, so good goaltending for sure. Andre, Farabee, and Tippett getting goals there before Andre, Michkov, and Benson. Michkov with his 33rd. Not as much as I would have thought, but he should have been doing a little bit better. But Benson looking like he's doing well with Demidov on that second line. So it does bring us up to 98 points. We are at least hunting them down, so we could at least tie with Vegas. But it looks like Avalanche end up firing their coach. Now we have to swap it up with Tampa. I think everyone seems to be relatively healthy, so we can kind of roll with this. Tippett's the only one that maybe we'll swap that down. Give him a better chance there. Demidov on the top with Michkov. And it seems like it was the right decision. 5-1, Misa getting his 9th, Benson getting his 17th, before Tippett, Michkov, and Benson getting goals there again. Face off against Colorado. I don't know why they would fire their coach. They're in 3rd place in their division. They're in a playoff spot. That is a very odd firing there, I will say. Predators down at the bottom. Yeah, that seems very odd. We'll keep it this way for the Colorado game. And we do lose 2-1. Regulation. 2 goals in the first. We couldn't quite come back. Misa with the only goal there, but McCann with his 25th assist. We do hit 100 points, but not good enough. Does look like Vegas is going to probably maintain the top. We're still, I guess everyone's kind of in the hunt there. Is Scott Lawn going to be back for the playoffs? He's only he dropped down so hard. He's half of that now. We might even have to buy him out, possibly, next season. If he continues to be like that, that's insane. I still like Benson better there. Demidov is the playmaker. I'll leave him on the right wing for this one. See if we can win a terrible team. Nope, we lose like I predicted. We always do that. Luchenko with his 31st, and then Cam York with his 8th. We let them get back into it and don't score for the rest of the game. Kamel and Evangelista are our demise. For a team that's not doing very well, they definitely made it difficult for us. And I think we're gonna have to win out. If we don't win the rest of the games, we might not be able to finish top spot. Kolossov's going to get the nod. Spencer Knight's been kind of streaky. And still swap that up. 5-2 win there. So Luchenko getting his 32nd and 33rd before Demidov, Sanheim, and McCann getting goals respectively. McCann with 37 goals is pretty insane. We might even extend him for a year, knowing that Scott Lawton's not... I don't even want him back, to be honest, at this point. We faced Tampa twice in a row now. And Knight's going to get the nod. We'll take down Tippett. We'll swap him with Demidov, and that makes it pretty easy. And I think that was the mistake that we ended up making before. We win 7-1, so pretty decisive. Frost, haven't seen his name come up too much in terms of the goals. Benson and then Barkey before Gill, Farabee with 2 there, and then Michkov with the garbage goal at the end. I mean, just stat padding at that point. I'm not going to praise at anyone. I don't like that interaction factor. So we're at 104 with a handful of games left. Scott Lawn now back. But yeah, crazy how he just regressed so hard off of that injury. And do they put him in right away? They do. Why is he being put in? We'll have to do it right before the game again. I think it's just because people might be tired. But I've never seen a 1.5 star player really start over others. But he is starting regardless. His defense looks like it's okay. Surprised that he's starting over Carlson though. That's kind of odd. And where is he? He's put on the bottom line. I don't mind that. Demidov and Tippett are going to swap. I'll leave McCann on the top for this game. See how well he performs. 37 goals is not something that I should take lightly. Demidov, Frost, and then Michkov and Frost again before Andre end up scoring at the very end. McCann now hurt. If it's... Okay, it's only short-term, medium facial cut. I was going to say, if it's a long-term, I will be very upset. Does bump us up to 106. Still hunting down the Knights. Does look like it's between us two. Because I don't think, barring mine, Dallas ends up doing crazy things. Just watch. He's going to have a medium facial cut, and then somehow we're going to end up losing him for longer. But I do want Knight to start probably the rest of the season. 3-2 win over Boston. Michkov, Farabee, and Luchenko getting goals there as well. 108 does put us at the top of the league. This could be the first President's Trophy. I know no one really cares about it, but I don't know. I still like winning the league. I know there's not a good track record with winning anything else, but I do enjoy that. And then I guess we'll put in Kolossov because we're gonna have a back-to-back coming up. We'll leave everything as is because we'll change it next game. A 6-3 win. Michkov with his 38th and 39th. And then Tippett with his 32nd and Gendron with his 8th. Before Benson with his 20th and Luchenko with his 35th. Luchenko actually being a goal-scoring machine to finish the season. 76 games, 35 goals. He's more so around the 20 mark a handful of games ago, but 83 points is very good. He's turned it on as of late because he wasn't averaging a point per game before that. Face the back-to-back against. We'll go back against New Jersey, who I thought would have been a bigger threat throughout this whole season. Or even throughout this whole series, because they do seem like they're absolutely loaded. And I actually want to change that up. Swap that out. I think I want him on the top line. Barkey's doing pretty good on that line. McCann slowly coming back to a facial cut. I don't know why that affects his stamina, but guess it does. Back-to-back wins there. It's what I like to see. We do concede early in the first. Barkey ties it up for us, and then Demidov and Forster end up scoring. Forster with only 8 goals. Yeah, 60 games, 8 goals, 32 points. But he's more of a grinder than anything. Up and down winger seems to fit him. But doing decent for that. We do hit the 50 goal mark, so we're at 53 with 2 games left and 1 point ahead of Knights with 2 games left to own it. If they end up losing once more, then we're pretty set. Rybkin doing pretty good, 68 grade, 33 points in 51 games in the KHL is nothing to laugh about. His face-off still around 15, but everything else is starting to come together. His determination team player is also improving as well. Svenberg, offensive looks amazing. Says 4.5 is what he could potentially be. We did grab him in the second round. He was projected to be a 22nd overall. So we might end up winning with that as well. Another center. So we're starting to, we're going to start to change things up over the course. And I do think even Oliver Bonk could end up playing next season for us. He is starting to develop pretty well. And Cern's still not at 20. He's still not where I'd expect him to be, but in our AHL, he is starting to develop there. But it's a little bit slower than what I would have thought. I thought he would have been at least start worthy sooner rather than later. But it does look like he's probably going to be 22 or 23 before he even gets NHL experience with us, and somehow end up winning a Player of the Month for our goalie and forward. I didn't think I'd see that. And McCann is back. I don't know why I keep saying McCann. And we'll give the first one to Kolosov. Take a look at the stats towards the end. We do lose 3-2 in regulation, so we don't get any points for that. Benson and Barkey getting points are there, but nothing really. And then Barkey is hurt. So Achilles tendon 1 to 2 weeks. Hopefully that aligns with at least getting our left winger back, but it does look like it was a good decision to go out and get a left winger just for the season. We're at 112, and it does look like we should be able to win it regardless of what happens, because Vegas choked last minute suspension. I thought it was an injury. But he's day-to-day anyway, so he gets a suspension and then he gets injured as well. That is interesting. So we'll leave it at that. Spencer Knight's going to get the nod for the last game. Demidov and Tippett are going to swap there. McCann is back. Misa's now going to be on the bench. And you know what? Benson, I'm going to give the top nod here. Chenko's going to be on the second. And we do win the last game 5-3. Tippett, Cam York, and Michkov with 40. That is good. 22 for Benson, and then Tippett with 34. Does look like that rounds it out. Take a look at the standings. I mean, Spencer Knight does get 34 wins. Not that good enough to be top, so it won't really matter. But Kolosov with 918 and 264 goals against. That is very good. We'll have to take a look at the rest of his stats and see if it really mattered with wins as well. So 114 for us, 54 wins. Next best is Knights, and it does look like Dallas started to go kind of streaky towards the end. So hopefully that means that they're going to get knocked out earlier. Toronto managed to at least bump it up a little bit, but it does look like them getting Matthews back is definitely going to hurt them. It's probably our number one wins total so far in the series. We went from 36 to 48 and then 54. Let's take a look at how well our players are starting to develop. I mean, just look at that now, though. So many decent potential there. Even 3-star is starting to show its face there as well. And Lawton only playing the 2 games for us this season, but does look like we're regretting signing him anyways. But we might have to move on from him in the future just because of that. I do think that he deserves to at least retire as a Flyer, so I end up having a change of heart before the start of the series, and especially winning last season, he did deserve it. But yeah, we'll end up keeping him. So Michkov ended up playing 79 games, did get 87 goals, 87 points, 40 goals, 47 assists. So pretty split between what kind of player he is, but seems like it's all offensive. 77 grade to go with that is very good. Luchenko with 84 and 79 games played. 35 goals and 49 assists, so he's more of a setup man, but 35 goals is still pretty good. Tippett with 80, so still a point per game. McCann ended up splitting between the 2 teams, but 10 points with us. He did have 57 with Buffalo, so I mean he is definitely a sleeping giant for sure on this offense. If we can just find a spot for him. Farabee with 66 points, and then Demidov with 63. So Demidov from 36 to 63 is very, very good. And how many of those are... He only really played... got 8 points in the power play. But a 72 grade is fantastic. So he is going to be a force to reckon with. Benson somehow coming up here with 47 points. So pretty good. I still don't know why they got rid of him. But 47 points for him. And I'm curious to see how well an already established player ended up doing. Bobby Brink probably had an amazing season. Curious to see what his development's like. It says he's around 3.5. I do know that that's the max that he's going to go, but he finished with 63 points. So a little bit better than Benson, but to be expected, he should be getting a lot more minutes than him. But very good nonetheless. I'm happy for both players. But we'll take a quick look at how well their goalies are and kind of get a sense of who's going to end up starting. I mean, it's very close. Despite save percentage being 918, 911's not that bad, comparably. And then goals against are pretty close as well. So I know Kolosov's getting highlighted. He did play 28 games. 31 games, did start 28 of them with 27-1. But Spencer Knight still with 34 wins. He had 33 the year before, so did a little bit better, I would say. 5 overtime losses instead, but 2 extra games that he ended up playing. So we're probably going to rock with Spencer Knight. Seems like the no-brainer there. But we do know that we can at least turn to Kolosov if we have to. But 114 is massive for us. We do want to start getting to this column here on the goals, assists, and points over the next little while. But Michkov's still not as potential, so could do a lot better. But probably who we end up playing, we'll have to take a look at it. Could be Buffalo, actually. We could face Buffalo first round, which isn't ideal. For the Norris, Sandheim's nominated there. Nothing else, though. And yeah, Michkov for Messier. He didn't win last year, and doesn't look like we're going to be nominated for anything else. But taking a quick look, let's look at the wild card here. It does look like we're playing Buffalo. I don't know if we'd rather play Buffalo or Tampa. Both of them seem like they'd be tricky opponents, but I guess we'll have to take Buffalo in this. And it just seems kind of poetic. Benson's playing against Brink. Benson probably has more of a chip because it's not that we necessarily want to get rid of Brink, but it's still going to be crazy. Captains for them. So Barkey's still out day to day. They have Miller that's out, and Cousins probably. How long is he out for? Okay, so he's going to be out for 71 days, it looks like. Crazy. So at least we do have that nod. AI setup organization. We won't tinker with anything unless we feel the need to. We'll leave Frost on the second line there, despite Benson doing pretty well. But we'll leave it at that. He did grade around 64, so it's pretty similar to what we ended up doing before, but playoffs is a different monster, and we're not going to really try and fudge with anything too much. Throughout the season, we did start off with an 8-1 and a 7-1 victory before then winning a 9-2 and then a 3-0. So we haven't lost to the Sabres at all this season, but like I said, playoffs are a bit different, and hopefully we can manage to pull away with this. Goals, we're number 1 in goals, and obviously number 1 in points. Power play goals is definitely an area that we need to improve at. It's going to be what they're good at. Power play goals against, we are at one of the top ones, so it's going to be pretty interesting, this matchup. Yeah, power kills at around 88%, which is very good in this league. So about 8% better than what they're doing. So let's see, game 1 at home. Let's see if we can manage to get a 1-0 victory here. And we suffer our first loss, a shutout loss. Who would have thought, to Buffalo? So our only loss to Buffalo is in the playoffs. And don't like the start of that, that's for sure. So we're going to have to bounce back here. See if we can manage to get at least a split series here. And we win 3-1, so it's what I want to see. At least it's not going to be a sweep if we do lose, which I always want to get that first win out of the way. McCann with his first, and then Gill and Farabee there, respectively. So a 3-1 win. Pretty good, but does suck that we didn't get the 2-0 start. And McCann is hurt. Day to day with a sore hamstring. And Barkey's still not back. That is fantastic for us. So we do go back to Buffalo. Let's see if we can manage to get a win here. And we lose 4-2, so we're down the series 2-1. And Rizzo, Misa are the only lone goals there. That is not, and Gendron's now getting hurt, so we're getting hit with the injury bug pretty hard right now. We have no choice but to start McCann. That is a bit rough. Alright, so Barkey's at least back to the roster. Probably not good enough to start, though. Maybe because of when it happened, he might be a little bit more ready. But I know that it's always 80% as soon as they get off the IR. And, I mean, it's 95%. I think he can be the difference, though. So, let's see if we can tie up the series here. We don't. We're down 3-1. That is not good. Tippett and Drysdale get goals early, but we fall apart late and give up 5 straight goals. Down the series 3-1. Can we come back, though? Does look like maybe they're going to get the last laugh, and hip soreness. Oh, come on, get real here. Injuries have always been a part of the game that I hate so much. At least he's going to be able to play through it. But I do think we're going to put Benson on the second line now. We'll swap up the Demidov and Farabee. Barkey should be good. Tippett on the top. And yeah, hopefully we can manage to get this one. Let's see if we can make it 3-2. And we do. 3-2 now. Misa with the goal. Cam York finally on the score sheet. Barkey comes back for us. That goal is going to mean a lot. Michkov with his first of the series. And then Frost and York with the winner there in overtime. That's a bit rough. Michkov not producing this postseason is definitely the reason why we're not winning. Drysdale could be back soon, but I think we're playing him anyways. I do think we have to go with what works. Drysdale now on the bottom line there. We'll put Demidov and Farabee, swap that up, and then Benson again on the second line. think that's the best we can do. Both goalies are cold though. See if we can manage to tie up the series at 3. And we do 3-2. Goes to game 7. Frost getting a goal and his second, and then Forster getting his second of the postseason. Farabee converts to right wing, so that's good. That means that Demidov is probably good enough to start on the left there as well, long term. But does look like the adjustments have helped. Gendron looks like he's back, and Can's still out. Drysdale at a 55%, but still wanting to play him because he's the best for us there. Oh, Barkey now on the second line. So I'll leave it at that, actually. Farabee now getting dropped down to right wing. I don't think that's right either. No, we'll swap that up. I can't do it. Rizzo's going to get the right wing. Alright, we'll leave it at that. And I don't know why Misa's now a left winger, but so be it. So game 7, let's see if we can manage to make the comeback real at home. And we do. We went 3-1. So managed to show a lot of composure there. 3-1 win there. Morgan Frost, Carlson, and Demidov with his first. Oh my god, that's also a reason. Looks like that left wing has been calling his name. So others in the league, Columbus now moves ahead, so it does look like we're going to play them. Tampa ends up sweeping Boston. Wow. So could have been nightmare for us as well. But we do have to face... we might have to face Tampa. It wouldn't make sense for us to have to face the best seed or the lowest seed. But Ottawa and Florida, Ottawa ends up winning 4-1. Kind of shocking there. Tied at Calgary and Vegas, so Vegas might really hurt there if they end up losing. Oilers now 4-1, and Dallas ends up making it through with Minnesota. So 2 Canadian teams move on, or 3 Canadian teams move on. So I mean, I think this is a bias towards Canadians for sure. Series tied, and Vegas managed to pull through, kind of like us. So we do face off against Columbus. I don't think that's right, but it is what it is. So we face Columbus. Yeah, we should definitely face the 4 seed. I hate this system. We should be facing Tampa, but I mean, Tampa sweeping Boston. I think that's all right. So we'll face Columbus, and then Minnesota and Dallas, and then Edmonton against Vegas. I think Vegas is gonna find a way to pull through, but I do think Minnesota ends up beating Dallas there, and I think we win, and I think Ottawa still probably ends up winning there. So we'll end up doing our rosters once again. Does look like people are starting to get healthier. So Drysdale's now at an 86, which he does get rewarded by putting him on the first line. Demidov on the second. Yeah, I think Barkey still has to go there, and Demidov here. Rizzo gets the bottom line. Everyone's a playmaker on that line. I don't like that. And still everyone's going to be a playmaker. So we'll kind of leave it at that though, but Benson should be playing on the second line, barring injury. And let's see how well we've done against Columbus this season. 5-0 win, a 5-2 loss, a 6-1 win, and a 3-2 loss. So pretty split, but goal differential, we definitely command it. We've had the more dominant wins, minus that 5-2 there. But let's see if we can manage to start this off at home again. 1-0, let's go. 8-2 win, so another dominant win. Benson now finally getting his first goal. Misa, Carlson, and Michkov, and then Drysdale, Gill, and Luchenko before Demidov, and we give up one at the end to Monahan. But 8-2 is what I like to see. Tippett is now hurt, which is not ideal for us. Mild blunt trauma to the eye, so 1 to 2 weeks. That's going to hurt for sure. Vegas up 1-0, and Minnesota up 1-0, and Tampa Bay up 1-0. But hopefully McCann can play. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Does look like his injury's off. He is still 80% for whatever reason. It could have been a facial cut, could have been whatever, but I never understood why facial cuts end up hurting that Benson, we're going to put back on second. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave Farabee on the fourth line because Barkey is doing pretty good for us. Let's go game 2. 5-1 win. And Carlson gets his third goal shorthanded and then his fourth as well. Misa doing very good on the bottom line. Demidov and Benson getting goals there as well. So 5-1 win is what I like to see. Vegas also up 2-0. Tampa up 2-0 and tied with Dallas. So Tampa might end up pulling through on this one. They were the favorites, so the reason why they end up finishing that low is still a shock to me. And Tippett looks like he needs a little bit of rest, but at least he can still play. So I'll take that all day long. And then we'll just leave it at that. Demidov should play on the top line probably later on. I will say Carlson's still there. Benson there as well. Let's see. Go to Columbus to see if we can manage to get a victory here. 3-0 loss. Not ideal. Lafreniere's on them. That is interesting. Huge trade for Marchenko. No way. I mean, I wouldn't have personally done it. I'm kind of biased though, but seems like a pretty decent trade. Luchenko is now hurt. 1 to 2 weeks. What is that? Gluteus strain. So literally in his butt. He has a butt strain and can't play for 2 weeks. Who would have thought? Just leave it at that. Minnesota now up 2-1. Tampa Bay 3-0. That is pretty scary. Are they going to sweep 2 in a row? Is the question. We still have a 2-1 series lead, and hopefully, it looks like Luchenko can still play. He is on the third line. I do want Benson on the top. I don't want Frost on the top. But third line still not that bad. Demidov and Barkey. I do want Farabee on the second. I don't think I can do it. Tippett now on the third line as well. I do like the look of that. I'm not going to lie. And let's see if we can manage to extend our lead here. And we do 5-4 in overtime. So a hard-fought game for sure. McCann with his second, and then Farabee and Barkey with both their seconds before Demidov now getting his fourth and McCann with his third. So all in all, looking pretty good. 3-1 for Vegas as well, and let's see if Tampa does do it. Not going to show it before it pulls through, is it? It is not. So nominees. I don't even know who. I guess Eric Stahl probably. Yeah, Eric Stahl, I guess. 3-1 and Tampa Bay sweeps. A double sweep for Tampa Bay. So that is for us. That is definitely a little scary. I will say that. They were the favorites to win the season. Let's just remind everyone. Demidov on the second line. Carlson on the set. This is a very weird look. I do want Benson's at 95. Yeah, I want Benson at least on the second line there. So managed to win at home. Let's see. Can we end the series here? 4-0. So we managed to at least win out despite the injuries. McCann and then Forster with 2 and Barkey with his third. We're going to obviously ignore that. Does look like we're facing Tampa. So it's going to be hard to be back-to-back champions for sure. Tampa's going to be our biggest test. As long as they don't get a triple sweep, I should be happy with that. And as long as our injuries start to pull through here, Luchenko on the bottom line. I don't like seeing that. Benson's obviously going to be our second one, and we'll leave Demidov on the second with Barkey. So game 1's underway. 5-1 win, 7-1 win, and 5-1 win. But we know what happened with Buffalo. It didn't matter how well we end up doing throughout the regular season. We still almost lost that series. So game 1, let's see if it's a different story and we can break their streak of winning 8 straight games. And happens again. Overtime loss, Frost, Spencer, and Misa scoring the first, but we come completely apart. Yeah, we come completely apart in the rest of the game. Not able to score. One goal would have been the difference for sure. But Tippett, still apparently a stamina issue because of blunt trauma to the eye. Don't quite understand that either. Minnesota's leading. I was right about the Minnesota one. So not too bad. I'll leave it as is. I'm not going to change anything. Let's see if we can manage to win our second home game here. And we lose again in overtime. Overtime is going to kill us. Misa and Benson end up getting a goal. And then Gill as well before Cam York and McCann. But they scored a ton between that. 6-5-2. Two of them is not. That's not a good start. We now go to Tampa, and it does look like we might get swept here, and Tampa might actually be the real deal. Luchenko is now going to sit, and Sanheim is swollen ears. Swollen ears is why he can't play. So Frage ends up getting the nod there. Benson now at the top. I do like to see that, and Demidov on the right wing. I'd rather see him at the top. But let's try this out. See if we can manage to break this losing streak here. And we don't. 5-2. We're one game away from getting swept. Michkov with his third. Still not good enough. Does very good in the regular season, but the postseason he is currently asleep. Vegas now leads 2-1. And we need 4 straight wins. That is going to be a tall order. And no one wants a quitter, so we're gonna put Demidov on the top here. McCann and Tippett. Do like that. And Benson, yeah, Benson at the top. Luchenko, not strong enough apparently to play on the center. He's gonna play third line there. And everyone's gonna have to dig deep here. See if we can win at least one game in the series. And we do 5-2. Is this the beginning of the end? Frost now with his 7th. Michkov scores. And Carlson with his 5th, Barkey with his 4th, and then McCann with his 6th there. And we do give up 2 in the third. We were winning 5-0. So 3-1. At least we don't get swept. That is the one positive. And apparently everyone might be back soon. We just need an extra day. If we can get an extra day, we should be good. But it does look like Luchenko is going to be sitting on the sidelines here. Tippett, we're going to swap with McCann, or sorry, with Demidov. I did like the top line. I'm going to put Benson there as well. Feels like that worked a little bit better for us. See if we can manage to win at home, make it 3-2, and we do. 4-3 win. McCann with his 7th, and Carlson with his 6th of the postseason. That is much better than I would have expected. Tippett with his 2nd, and then Frost with his 8th. Frost is doing very good on the second line. 3-2 series. Can we manage to win in Tampa again? Yeah, Luchenko, I will want to play you. See what they're doing. We're going to make our adjustments. Benson. Frost is doing good, but I'd still think this is the best foot forward. See if we can manage to tie the series up and force game 7. And we do 4-1. Wow, come from the brink. Second goal for Luchenko. Carlson with his 7th, and then Seth Jones with his 1st, and Michkov with his 5th. So Michkov's starting to show up. Series tied 3-3, and Vegas is going to be in the finals as well to hopefully win their second. Luchenko's still injured. We'll make the adjustments necessary. Demidov, I don't know why is getting moved there. Tippett, Farabee's going to have to be the third line. But yeah, I don't know why Demidov was brought down there. Benson top. Let's see if we can manage to win game 7 at home. And we lose 4-1, and we're out all for nothing. Benson with a lone goal there, assist by Demidov and Sanheim. Does look like that's the end of the season here. Let's see who ends up winning the cup between, I guess, two recent ones in real life that have won. I think it's going to be Tampa. Tampa caused us so much issues. 1-0 for Vegas. 1-1 tied. And yeah, that's so rough. Thought we were going to manage to come back. 2-1 Vegas. But I guess the team that won. Vegas 3-1. And we'll take a look at what ended up happening in the postseason. 3-2 Vegas. Are they going to manage to come back, though? I think it's going to end. Oh, 3-3. Wow, Tampa might do it. There's only one game left. Injuries definitely were the factor this season, I will say that. Just in terms of the postseason. But we managed to pull it through, at least getting to the conference finals. And Game 7 of the conference finals. So one game left. Who's going to win this year? I still think it's Tampa. Just because they came back, but maybe the same thing happens to them. Still not going to show it. Still one game left. And Tampa ends up winning 4-3. At least we know that we could have possibly have won this year, but fortunately it ends a little bit early. We'll take a look at players on our team. But Hedman must be retiring soon. There's no way he's not. Take a look at Tampa. Where is he? Hedman, now 36, only a 2.5 star. Vasilevsky is probably the reason why they end up winning, but he's 32, so I don't think they're going to be that dominant. Points even 31 as well, so there's no way they can be that dominant in the future. Gensel's now 32 as well, and Kucherov's 33. So this could be the last time that we end up seeing them really make a push in the season. So it's good that they end up winning that year, but I don't know. It is kind of bittersweet. I do think that we did have a very good team, and we did make great trades as well. But in the playoffs, Frost was the top points getter. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a learning curve for sure, because Demidov only got 10 points, and I mean, Benson did better, but Michkov needs at least a point per game in the postseason for us to do well. So, not good enough. Couldn't replicate how well he did in the season. Luke Misa doing very well in the postseason, but not as good as in the regular season. Physicals are starting to look pretty good. He could be a sleeper player for us for sure. McCann doing well. I might look to re-sign him. So let's see what he wants. No, that's a bit rich for us, so we're gonna have to part ways with that. Jared McCann is definitely gonna leave us in the off season. There's no way that we're gonna be able to re-sign him, but that's the end of that episode. We couldn't end up doing it, but hopefully you guys liked this episode. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and thank you for watching. Until next time.